Welcome to my channel Living Linux. In this video I want to show you how I built Blender 3.6 on my Rockchip RK3588 single board computer. So I'm running Armbian with kernel 6.14 and I installed Vulkan with mesa-25. So I did try to install Blender through the package manager, but I wasn't able to get that working. That was version 4 point something. And I also tried to build version 4 point the latest, but it also didn't work. I got into a dependency hell with a couple of libraries and I tried to install newer versions, but I ended up with a messed up system where it really didn't want to work anymore. So that's why I decided to fall back to version 3.6 for the time being. Now, you also, well, if you follow my procedure, then you also need to install 2 additional Python packages. So in that case, you might want to use something like pyenv to install a different Python version, because with anything based on Ubuntu, you're not allowed to make any changes to the system version of Python. And I will put a link in the description of this video to another video where I explain how to install pyenv and an additional Python version or environment. And like I said, I installed mesa-25 so that I have the vulkan-driver, and this is actually the most important command, and after that just do sudo apt-update and sudo apt-upgrade. You might have to install the vulkan-driver separately, but I will also put a link to one of my other videos where I explain how to install everything. So in theory, it's not that hard to build Blender from source. Well, this part is fairly simple, but this is where I had to make a small change because, yeah, the latest version didn't work for me. So I wanted to fall back to version 3.6. So if you look at the repository, and then here you can find other branches, and you can see here the name of the 3.6 release. So, oops, I wanted to have this one. So then with -b, you can say that you want to have a specific branch. So then the whole command looks like this. So from there, you can install the basic building dependencies. Perhaps it's better to install the packages just like this. But I went with this one, with this script. And then unfortunately, I ran into an error. Yeah, so this is when I installed Blender through the package manager and didn't work. So here, yeah, when you try to install the Linux packages, then I got the error that Python is not available, and well, I used a bit of a dirty trick because in this script, Python is mandatory, so then it says true. Because, well, I installed an additional Python version with pyenv, so I'm absolutely sure that Python is available. So I just change it to false so that we can skip this part because, yeah, Python is available. So, yeah, you can find it in the build files and then build environment, and then here is that script where you can make that change. So as I said, it's a bit of a dirty trick, but yeah, as long as it makes things work, then yeah, I stop searching for a different solution. Anyway, when you're on ARM, there's a disadvantage because you can't download the libraries, at least not at this point in time. Perhaps they will do that in the future somewhere, who knows. So I went with the advanced setup, and then you have to execute this script. And yeah, they say you can build dependencies from source, but yeah, it looks like that they do not really recommend that. So once we have everything in place, then you can try to build Blender itself. So yeah, you might run into an error about Python. So yeah, when I looked or searched for that error, then someone had the idea to export the Python path. Well, I think it's what I did was little different, the Python root there. I think I saw that somewhere in one of the scripts. Can't really remember which one it was, but so in my case, as I installed an additional Python environment with pyenv, then this is the path. So depending on what you have chosen to do, that path might be different. So, but just execute this command in the terminal where you're trying to build Blender, and then continue building. And well, once you have built Blender, then it should be available in build Linux bin. And yeah, I forgot something because we got some other errors, and there are two, or at least I encountered two errors. So one about NumPy and the other about Cython. So luckily you can install NumPy with pip. So pip install NumPy, and Cython can also be installed with pip. And yeah, let's do this with a new terminal session. So I'm not really forgetting anything. So blender-git, build Linux, bin, and then we have Blender. So now if we try to start Blender, then it says it can't find Python. And when I search for that error, then they said like you have to add Python to the LD library path. So in my case, like I said, I'm using pyenv, and then depending on your version, then execute this command. So if we try to start Blender again, so now we get some error messages about, let's just say, OpenGL. So when we see the OpenGL information, then it says version 3.1, but that is not high enough. I think you need something like 3.3 at least. So if we activate Zink, then we're going to run OpenGL on top of Vulkan. So, well, now glxinfo no longer wants to play along anymore, but Blender does. And here we have Blender. Now, yeah, it's not really fast, and also running OpenGL on top of Vulkan with Zink, that is also a performance penalty. So let's just say if we try to rotate this, then it does rotate, but doesn't feel very fast. Now, I've never really used Blender, so yeah, I'm not going to try to build anything myself. So Blender has a lot of demo files. So I went with the Cozy Kitchen. So if you click on it, then it will download it, and you will also see a screen where they suggest that you do a donation. So yeah, if you really use Blender, let's just say a lot, then it does make sense to make a donation. So anyway, we can open it. I don't need to save this. So as I said, I already downloaded this, so we can load it. And like I said, it's not really fast. Although it's not pushing the CPU to 100%. But if you wait long enough, then here it is. So then I thought, like, okay, then probably I can try to render this image. And then under normal circumstances, it should open a new, yeah, So yeah, I thought like, okay, let's render an image, but that will fail on ARM. And I can show you. So yeah, it will say that there is no denoiser, and then it will fail. So yeah, with the newer versions, then hopefully it will be available on ARM, but apparently not with the 3.6 version. I will try to investigate if I can build it from source, but if that fails, then yeah, we'll have to wait until we can build it the Blender 4 branch. And perhaps when you're on Arch or Fedora or OpenSUSE, perhaps they do have the newer versions of the libraries, and then hopefully you can build version 4 point something. But at least with Armbian, for the time being, I was stuck with version 3.6. So anyway, yeah, so here you can see build without open image denoiser, so no cigar. So if we go to the render properties, you can deactivate denoise. So if we try that again, if it wants to play along, yeah. Yeah, okay. So now it's starting the rendering again. And now you can see that the CPU is very busy. And yeah, you can see that it starts out very, very noisy, but then it becomes clearer and clearer with every step. And in a way, it looks very similar to how you can generate images with AI. So anyway, since we don't have a denoiser, then we do not get a very clean image. As you can see here, this looks, well, very clean to me, but I already rendered that image, and then you can see that we still have quite some noise in the image. So I don't know if it has got to do with the render engine. Perhaps if you use a different render engine, then yeah, that you don't have that much noise. But again, I never used Blender, so I don't know. So yeah, this one still needs to go through a lot of steps. But yeah, at least the good part is that I am able to get Blender 3.6 working on my Rockchip RK3588 single board computer with Armbian, and yeah, hopefully with a newer release of Armbian that we can start working with Blender 4. And I will also investigate if I can build the denoiser for Blender 3.6. So anyone that wants to try Blender on a Rockchip RK3588, you can do it. It's not something I would recommend, but yeah, if that is your only system that you have available, then It is possible. The things that I tried, yeah, it all feels very slow. But again, if it's the only system that you have available, then you might as well try it. So this is all for now, and I hope to see you again in my next video.